Hi, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from RicoScores, and man, oh man, the season has had to suck for it to happen, and that's not fun. But the bright side is, as you see in the title, the Washington Commanders now have the 5th overall pick in the 2024 draft. For those of y'all that may not know yet, we can't technically get the 4th no matter what happens in that Bears game. I will explain why. So no matter what, as of right now, until some more games happen next Sunday when we play again, we have the 5th overall pick in the draft, and it could become even better next week. But as of right now, again, despite no matter what happens in that Bears game Monday night, win or loss, we will still have the 5th overall pick. We can't pass them in 4th. Again, I'll explain why. Of course, I'm really excited about that. And I want to do a big, deep dive into a lot of the elite draft prospects that may be in range for us to take there. Or should we just go ahead and trade back? So there's so many options that we have, but I more so want to focus on a lot of the top young talents coming out into that 2024 draft. Are we thinking quarterback? Are we thinking Brock Bowers at tight end? Are we thinking Olu Fano or any of those guys at tackle? We're going to do a deep dive into all of that. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. This is the 2nd video today, and like I promised, I will be doing daily uploads for a while now because I have so many videos to do. And just like this video or the video I did earlier today, they're pushing the other videos I already had planned out back a whole nother day or things like that. So I'm going to be very busy. I have a lot of video topics. Like, again, I want to do my Eugene Shin breakdown and how much of an impact they'll have on this team. What positions in football does he prioritize over others, all of that type of stuff. I still got to do my Bill Belichick video, why or why not we should go and get Bill Belichick as our head coach. I have a really fun video I'm working on where we're going to look at a lot of fun in 5 Washington Commanders stadium concepts, some like human made, a lot of them will be AI generated and things like that. Just sort of some fun. Most of it won't even be realistic, but it'll just be something fun to look at. Of course, I'm also planning on doing some top head coaching candidates. That's one video. Top defensive coordinator candidates. That's another video. And top GM candidates. That's a whole nother video as well. So I have so many videos I'm working on. I'm also going to do a big time stats update maybe in a couple of days where we ranking a lot of key stats everywhere. So man, stay tuned, man. So much content coming. And again, the channel is back at 100%. So if you want to become a channel member, support the channel through the super chat or donate through Cash App or PayPal like y'all been doing the past few months, please do that if you got it, if you feel it in your heart. And yeah, man, let's go ahead and get to this video. Sorry for the long intro. Let's go ahead and get to it. Let's get it.
He's our quarterback for the 5-10 years, and I truly believe that.
All right, so with the Giants and the Titans both winning today, we went from 7th in draft pick order to 5th. That's actually very monumental, dog. That's like big time. That's a big difference, man. Like, even if we wanted to trade back, trading back from 5th is a big difference from trading back from 7th. It doesn't matter. But of course, with this being such an elite draft, I mean, I don't even want to say it's top heavy because I think this draft is deep at a lot of positions as well. But some of the top 10 talent in this draft is better than a lot of the top 10 talents in previous drafts. If you see what I'm saying, especially at like tight end, you could definitely argue receiver. We could argue quarterback. So this is one of those drafts you want a top pick. Or if you don't even care to have a top pick, but you have one, you can get more in return for trading back than you would in another draft from last year or a previous draft a couple of years ago. Going from 5 to say 12, for example, in this draft will get you more value in return than it would have in a previous draft. So no matter what you want to do, having a higher draft pick in this draft is far more valuable and more wanted than in previous other drafts, is the best way really to put it. So again, if the draft would have happened tomorrow, that would be the draft pick order. We would be at 5th, Carolina 1st, New England 2nd, Cardinals 3rd, Chicago Bears 4th, and then us 5th with the Giants behind us, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, New York Jets, all of that type of stuff. So, and just to explain it for those of y'all who may not know this, and this is something I like recently discovered, that strength of schedule matters way more than like who beat who when it comes to tiebreakers and draft order. Like, since the Chicago Bears, say somehow they beat the Minnesota Vikings on Monday night, and they're 4-8, just like we are, and we're both 4-8. Even though the Chicago Bears not only beat us but embarrassed us in Maryland, in our stadium, a few weeks ago, they would have the higher draft pick. They would pick before us because strength of schedule is the very first thing that they prioritize. Now, if somehow you have a tie in schedule, a tie in a record and strength of schedule at the same time, then maybe they go to who beat who. But when it comes to draft order, the strength of schedule matters the most. And that I can kind of see that when it comes to draft order, even though it sucks for us in this case, that makes sense. Like if you're 4-8, but you had an easy schedule versus another team that's 4-8 and they had a really tough schedule, you just kind of assume that the team that has the same record with the easier schedule is the worst team. He needs that higher draft pick just a little bit more. Even though they did beat us, yeah, I can see it. As a Commanders fan, I'm also upset about it, but it makes sense and it's logical. So just to let y'all know, no matter what happens Monday night with the Bears, whether they win or lose, we are still the 5th overall pick. What's really going to start to determine things is what happens next week. Because y'all already know next week, man, things get really interesting. We play the Miami Dolphins. Very highly likely to lose that game, even though it is in Landover, Maryland. But we got to start to look at, do the Bears potentially win that game next Sunday? Do the Giants win? So I'm just letting y'all know now, for the remainder of the season, if you care about the Commanders having the highest draft pick possible, you need to be rooting for the Giants, the Buccaneers, the Titans, Jets, Cardinals, and the Bears mostly. There's some other teams that you may want to also throw a little bit of good luck to and hope that they win, but those are the main ones we need to focus on. We need to keep the Giants, the Bucks, and the Titans behind us. We need to also keep the Jets behind us as well. And then I guess you're rooting for the Cardinals and the Bears to keep losing so we can surpass them and maybe get to a number 3 pick. Because right now it is Carolina Panthers with only one win. They're not going to win 3 more games to even tie with us. They're just not going to do that. And even then, I believe our strength of schedule is very slightly tougher. Yep. But by 0.01%, our strength of schedule is a little bit tougher. So even if the Carolina Panthers won every game for the remainder of the season and we don't win another one, they will still have a higher draft pick than us. So that's over with. The Patriots, we already beat them head to head, even though that doesn't necessarily matter for the reasons I've already explained for the Bears scenario and surpassing them in picks. This strength of schedule is tougher than ours, but they would have to win 2 more games and we would have to not win another game for them to even be in range. So you have the Cardinals who are playing right now. Hopefully, maybe a lot of y'all who are watching this video by now, it's third quarter. For me right now, about to go into the 4th quarter of that game, and the Cardinals win that, a lot of things change. Their strength of schedule, though, is weaker than ours, I believe, though. Is it? No, the Cardinals' strength of schedule is tougher than ours, so they will have to win this week today against the Rams, and then they will also have to win the following week. So if the Cardinals just keep winning out, we can pass them. The Bears keep winning out, we can pass them. I highly doubt the New England Patriots will keep winning out, so I just highly doubt we pass them. And again, the Panthers, they're not winning out for sure, so we're not going to pass them. So again, we need to focus. If you had to ask a finite amount of good luck you can put out there for certain teams to win, you need to focus that energy onto the Cardinals, the Bears, the Giants, Buccaneers, Jets, and the Titans. And then after that, of course, we would prefer if the Chargers or Rams won, the Saints, just to be safe. But I mean, you don't even have to put energy towards that. A lot of these teams are competent enough to actually win games. And the reason I'm not saying that we're tanking or not even wishing for us to tank is because we're so sorry we don't have to. We don't have to tank. Just under Rivera trying to win, we've been losing games we shouldn't have won. And now this last piece of schedule is the toughest stretch we're going to have all season. And so I just definitely don't expect us to win games now. We couldn't beat the Bears, and we lost to the Giants twice. There's no way we plan on beating the Dolphins, Rams, Jets, or the 49ers, or the Cowboys, who just embarrassed us 45-10. So we don't even have to tank. I don't know why people are still bringing up, we shouldn't root for our team to lose. We don't have to. I've been putting effort into us, rooting for us to win all season, and we've still lost the teams we had no business losing to. So at this point, just assuming logically, just mathematically, by the way that things have happened in the past, you use the past to try to predict the future, I'm assuming that we probably won't win another game this season. I'm not necessarily rooting for that, but you don't have to. It doesn't matter. So nobody should even be having those type of debates. Don't root for tanking. That's a loser's mentality. All that type of stuff. It doesn't. We're gonna lose anyway, regardless whether you want us to win or lose. So there's literally no point of even talking about that. So at the end of the day, man, before we dive into a lot of these draft prospects that I'm very excited about, and all of the ones that I'm just like, we get either of these guys, I feel like we did an A+ draft already, just off rip. But at the very least, as far as the remainder of this season goes, of course, a better draft pick would be amazing as well. But my main focus for the remainder of this 2023 season, besides just even getting a better draft pick to potentially get a better player or to get better trade back value in return if we were to trade back, my main objectives right now are hoping for Sam Howell to ball out these last few games, and then just the defense to just keep up the bad work, not keep up the good work, keep up the bad work, and so that Sam Howell can ball out as much as he wants, but we still find a way to lose out. That will probably be best case scenario for us to be a better team in 2024 and beyond. But again, the primary goal is for Sam Howell to develop and to continue balling out. That's what I want. I want him to bounce back from these past couple of ugly games that he's had, even though they haven't all been his fault at all. But I want him to just finish this season very strong and definitely give Josh Harris and whoever the next head coach and GM and all of those guys are, give them something to think about as far as a franchise quarterback. Make them not draft a franchise quarterback in this upcoming draft. Maybe get one like in a mid to late round guy just in case, but don't let that Sam Howell, you need to ball out to where that first round pick is not spent on another quarterback. It needs to be spent to, instead of bringing in competition against you, it's bringing in players to help you, an offensive lineman, a tight end, receiver, whatever it takes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm also rooting for the development of all of the other young guys as well. That's one of my main priorities as well. Quan Martin, Emmanuel Forbes. I want to see Samuel Cosme, Chris Paul get better. Brian Robinson, Jahan Dotson, amongst many others. I want to see Khalid Hudson go out there and prove he deserves to get another contract, because this is the last year of his contract right now. Same thing with Antonio Gibson. I would like for us to keep Curtis Samuel long term for way cheaper than what he's probably willing to take. But I want to see a lot of these younger guys that we're potentially building this team around for the future. I want to go out there and see them develop and ball out, man. I want to see Emmanuel Forbes in the season strong, even though he didn't have a great season overall. If these last few games against these high-powered offense, Emmanuel Forbes looks like lockdown, that's major optimism we can take into this upcoming offseason and regular season. So that's what I'm really hoping for. Sam Howell is leading the charge, but I also want guys like Emmanuel Forbes, Quan Martin, Chris Paul, Samuel Cotton, all of these young guys out there, these edge rushers like KJ Henry. KJ Henry, go out there and show that we shouldn't have to spend a first round pick on Latu, however you pronounce his name, in UCLA. We shouldn't have to spend edge rusher first round pick. You're here. Andre Jones, all of you guys need to go out there and show, or even just the veterans like Case Tillman and J. Smith Williams, go out there in this season strong to where we're confident in bringing you back, even if not just a starter, but at least some decent depth. Because like I've explained in my previous video that I came out with earlier, some of the biggest roster turnover that happens when a new head coach, GM, and all of that stuff comes around, it may not be starters, because some starters are undeniable. It depends, it doesn't matter what system you run on defense or offense. Some starters are just great enough to where they transcend systems. They transcend head coaching changes and stuff like that. Where changes really happen, where the roster turnover really happens, is those depth guys, those backups. That's when the next head coach and GM think they're definitely, and I hope they are, smarter than the previous one. And they're like, why were y'all even attached to these backups? We got some backups we trust a little bit more, so those are going to be the backups we bring in. That's where the biggest roster overhaul typically happens. A lot of the depth and backup guys. Like a new coaching staff and GM situation may not be attached to Casey Hill or James Smith Williams anywhere near as the Commanders have been, or Khalid Hudson since he was a draft pick. Even guys like Derek Forrest. Those are the situations where you got to look for. So I want to see all of those guys go out there in the season strong and, audition for the next front office that we're about to go into. Also, I want to go ahead and let you know now, I think just based on the trajectory that Sam Howell has played with so far, and I'm hoping he goes out the rest of the season and balls out like I already said, but even if he just continues on the same exact trajectory that he's been so far this season, where it's some great, some bad, some really good at times, has some great quarters, some great halves, but overall not necessarily consistent games overall, I still think they'll prioritize building around Sam Howell, and then if he doesn't work out, going quarterback in the 2025 NFL draft. I just have a feeling there. I don't really think they're gonna spend a high draft pick on quarterback. First of all, I don't think we're gonna be within the first 2 draft picks. So, I mean, I know a lot of people feel like Caleb Williams and Drake May are the consensus 1 and 2 quarterbacks, but Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, and Bo Nix may have something to say about that. But you never know. Maybe our coaching staff, our GM, whoever, head coach, all of that type of stuff, do prefer Caleb Williams and Drake May, and if they're not in range to get those guys, they will prefer to just go ahead and draft another position rather than taking a Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, or Bo Nix. We'll see. It's so many different scenarios. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get to these elite draft prospects that the Commanders could. I mean, all of these guys can help the Commanders. I mean, again, outside of quarterbacks, we're just going to go ahead and skip that. Even though Caleb Williams, Drake May, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, all of those guys, man. Jaden Daniels, I think Jaden Daniels is ridiculously underrated. I mean, as a Georgia Bulldog fan, what he's doing over there at LSU is unprecedented, man. If he were on a better team, he would for sure be leading the Heisman candidate race right now, without a doubt. I think he would be number 1, probably win it. He's been over there carrying not a bad team, but an inferior team compared to a lot of the rest of the teams in the SEC, man. He's been out there doing his thing. I can see him easily. I can see a scenario where Jaden Daniels ends up being one of the 2 best quarterbacks that come from this draft class. I would not be shocked at all, and I feel like a lot of people would be. If y'all haven't paid attention to Jaden Daniels, go look at him. But outside of quarterbacks, for reasons I've already explained, because even me, I'm just hoping, just to let you know, no matter whether you like Sam Howell or not, best case scenario is Sam Howell is a franchise quarterback. You got him in the 5th round, and even though his deal only has a couple of years left compared to one of these guys that could potentially have a 5-year deal left, he's still a 5th round pick compared to a 1st round pick. And also, if Sam Howell is already your franchise guy, a 5th round pick that you used 2 years ago, now you can take these 1st, 2nds, and 3rds and all of these picks to build around him to make the rest of the team better, whether that's offense or defense. Where if you feel like Sam Howell isn't the guy, now your highest draft pick is being spent on quarterback, and now you have some picks left over to try to build around that quarterback, but it's way less talent. You're not going to get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison. You're not getting Drake May and Brock Bowers. You're just not doing that. You have to pick one or the other if Sam Howell's not your guy. So at the end of the day, I know a lot of y'all would prefer to go ahead and get a top quarterback, but ultimately, best case scenario, I feel like we can all agree, is that if Sam Howell becomes that guy, can play like a top 10, top 12 quarterback at the NFL level, that's best case scenario, because we can use that draft capital on other positions. So assuming that we do spend that draft capital on other positions, hoping that Sam Howell is that guy, and I think he can be. I'm definitely on the side of thinking he can and will be. You have Marvin Harrison Jr., the wide receiver out of Ohio State. I don't think he makes it to the 5th pick. You're gonna have to get up to 4, and even then, because I think the Cardinals may be able to linger around and stay with a top 3 pick, and I think they believe in Kyler Murray enough to give him another shot, and so I think they're going to end up going Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't see him making it past the Cardinals, and I don't think we draft before the Cardinals, so go ahead and get Marvin Harrison Jr. out of y'all heads. I highly doubt we make that move. He's not even playing any more football. The next time you're going to see Marvin Harrison Jr. now is at the Combine, because he's done. Ohio State isn't making the playoffs, so that's over with. You have Olu Fano, and now my argument for drafting Brock Bowers over any of these elite tackles, and they are elite tackles, my thing is, and I can see the other case, I see tackle is a much bigger need, so you take tackle, especially with elite talents there. I definitely see that argument, but again, I'm always best case scenario guy. I'm always risk taker. I'm gonna try to achieve the greatest thing. I'm trying to be a Super Bowl contender, not a playoff contender. I think there's no other tight end. First of all, even when Brock Bowers gets drafted, there's no other tight end in the NFL like him. It's like him and Travis Kelce will be in their own tier by themselves. I'm telling you that right now. Trust me. But also, even just draft wise, years before, years after, there will not be another Brock Bowers. I'm telling you right now. Whereas, as much as I love Olu Fano, Joe Alt, and all of these guys, even my boy Amarius Mims, who you may even be able to get later into the draft, like late 1st round, who to me has the highest ceiling of any tackle I've seen come out of the draft in years. Even higher than Olu, even higher than Joe Alt, even going back to Darnell Wright and DeJuan Jones. His ceiling is even higher than those guys. He's the freakiest tackle I've seen come out of college in years. I'm just going ahead and tell you that now. Arguably, at the very least, ever in Georgia history. Even more athletic than Broderick Jones, all of those guys. Andrew Thompson, like, his ceiling is the highest I've seen from a tackle, at least coming from Georgia in my lifetime. It's ridiculous. So you can maybe even get him later. So that brings me to my point, is that there's only one Brock Bowers, and there will only ever be one Brock Bowers. Whereas Olu Fano, Joe, all of those guys, I love all of them, and I would be happy with any of them. That's my whole point. So I think you take Brock Bowers, hopefully trade back up into the late first, like we did with the Montez Sweat situation. Take 2 seconds to trade back up into like the mid to, somewhere in the 20s, early 20s in the first, and then you get your elite franchise tackle there. I think that's definitely very possible. No joke at all. So that's my best case scenario, but I also understand that Joe Alt, certified tackle from Notre Dame, different. Olu Fano struggled a little bit this season in certain games, but I believe this guy can be a true franchise left tackle, almost Trent Williams level guy. I mean, it's hard to project anybody to be Trent Williams ever, because Trent Williams is just a different type of guy. But if you're looking for your next Rashawn Slater or anything like that, that's the caliber of guy that Olu Fano could potentially end up being for you. Same thing with Joe Alt. Same thing for a lot of these guys, man. J.C. Latham from Alabama is really good. Maybe you can get him later, which again brings me back to my point. There are so many great tackles. There's only one ridiculous tight end. And I think you take that ridiculous tight end, you gamble and try to get one of those elite tackles one way or another somehow. I think that's the best case scenario. But again, I can see why everybody else is like, no, let's play it safe. I'm not taking no risk. Let's give Sam Howell some certified protection at left tackle. Like I already explained, we have like $89 million in cap space. You release Charles Leno, we get to like $98 million in cap space. So I'm pretty sure we're going to be in a huge need for a tackle. We'll see how that goes. Also, there's some other elite talent at other positions. Like if you don't want to pay Cameron Curl long term, you have Tyler Nubin from Minnesota potentially that you may want to bring in. Edge rusher wise, we have a huge needed edge rusher. Now, me personally, I would prefer to address edge rusher or linebacker in free agency, because if you're looking at free agency right now, you have Brian Burns, Josh Allen, Chase Young is ranked third, which is kind of funny. We're not going that route, but because I'm pretty sure the 49ers are going to lock him in. Nick Bosa has been absolutely ridiculous since Chase Young's got there. He's not getting double teamed as much. He's going stupid. I'm happy for Chase Young and the 49ers for that move. You have Danielle Hunter fourth, Bryce Huff, Jonathan Grenard, Jadeveon Clowney, AJ Epinesa. You have a lot of guys out there, and hey man, pay Josh Allen or Brian Burns whatever money you got to pay him. The way Josh Allen just played today for the Jaguars against the Houston Texans, he just earned that bag. I'm willing to give it to him. I wouldn't be surprised if the next regime comes in and is willing to give Josh Allen or Brian Burns whatever money they want on an annual basis to get that elite edge rusher, that certified edge rusher we don't have to worry about anymore being inconsistent, being hurt, getting a lot of pressures but not getting a lot of sacks, things like that. So we can address edge in the free agency. Also, linebacker wise, you have Frankie Lavu, Willie Gay, Bobby Wagner, even though he's older, Levante David, older, but still, Patrick Queen, Jordan Brooks, Drew Tranquil, Blake Cashman, Aziz Al-Shahir, Devin White. You have options out there at linebacker, too, to improve linebacker. And I think you just go ahead and bring Cody Barton back on a cheap deal. He wasn't great, but after we lost him, you saw how much we missed him. Jamin Davis I think he's going to be on the last year of his contract at that point, I believe, or at best 2 years left. He looked good. He was making plays, getting interceptions, forcing fumbles. He was great against the run when Cody Barton was out there. As soon as Cody Barton was gone, it just seems like Jamin Davis doesn't know how to play linebacker again. So now you have Cody Barton, Jamin Davis, and you bring in a guy that's better than both of those guys so that we're not one injury away from David Mayo playing a lot. I think you're great right there. I would still draft linebacker within like the first 4 rounds, even if you do bring in a top tier linebacker. At the very least, the top 5 rounds, to be honest. I would still try to find a sleeper in there to potentially start a linebacker for you. But I think you can address those in free agency before we even get to the draft. Then when you get to the draft, you focus on offense. But edge rusher wise, however you pronounce his name, Latu. I haven't really watched a lot of players outside of the SEC because I'm not in super draft mode yet. I'm just Georgia Bulldog fan, SEC fan, watching the best games that are on TV. UCLA hasn't necessarily been a part of any of the best games on TV. I watched like Oregon, Washington. I watched Ohio State versus Michigan, of course, but generally I've just been watching SEC stuff, looking at our competition, sizing ourselves up against the rest of the SEC because, again, I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan. So But this is like one of the only few guys I've gone and like, let me go look at some tape on this guy. Let me go look at some highlights because I've been hearing some stuff and he's deserving of all the hype. He's ridiculous. So if you want to solve edge rusher in the draft, you do have him out of UCLA and he probably will be available by the time we pick. Again, just go ahead and repeat it. My favorite pick is Brock Bowers. But if you're just sick of our cornerback position, the way Benjamin St. Juste just got ate up against the Dallas Cowboys, Kendall Fuller, we may not even re-sign him, and he's going to be 29 by the start of the next season. And Emmanuel Forbes hasn't looked as good as a lot of us hoped he would look. You can go Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama. That's an elite corner. Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. That's an elite corner potentially. We have so many options. And then linebacker wise, I'm not even exactly sure if there's just this dominant elite linebacker that you should have to take early in the first round. If you want to trade back, maybe then you can get one of those Clemson boys or something like that. One of those Alabama guys. It just depends. But if we're talking top 10 draft pick, which I think it's safe to say we'll have. I think if anything, we're only going to move up. Right now we're 5th. I think we're more likely to move up than we are to move back because I just don't really looking at the schedule, dog. I mean, I really don't see a win in there. Maybe the Cowboys' last game of the season because they sit their starters because their playoff season is already solidified. And I pray we do not win a game like that. At that point, playoff hopes out of reach. We still only have 4 wins entering January 7th. We better not win that game at that point. I mean, that's not even pride. That's just stupidity at that point, in my opinion. But yeah, man. So we have so many options. You also have Dallas Turner as an edge rusher, but I'm more of a Latu guy myself, an elite pass rusher. I felt like Dallas Turner, great pass rusher as well, but I'm just more of a Latu guy, man. I'm sorry. Even though he plays for UCLA, doesn't play in the SEC, and I tend to try to side with SEC people because they do go against better competition, no matter what position group you're playing typically. But Latu's a little different, man. But even Cooper DeJean from Iowa is really good. You know, Iowa, you know, they do their things with DBs, man. They always have some DB randomly. So it's so many options, man. And honestly, if you want to trade back and still get one of those elites, you trade back, say, scenario wise, and I'm gonna do mock drafts with these scenarios literally, so be on the lookout for that. But maybe you trade back to, say, from 4 or 5 to like 15, you would definitely get at least more than one first round pick in return, maybe even a second on top of that. And I'm gonna do a whole bunch of research on exact scenarios that make sense when I do my mock draft, which is something I'll probably come out with probably tomorrow or sometime this upcoming week. This week, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, just be on the lookout for that, maybe Friday or something. I'm gonna do my full research on like exact realistic trade back scenarios that we could explore if we really wanted to. But I think you could trade back and still get an elite player. Like maybe you trade back to 15, get Amarius Mims. Now you have more first round picks to draft more elite players. You get one of those elite corners, maybe one of those elite edge rushers are still there, and maybe, hey man, I ain't gonna lie, man, Keon Coleman from Florida State slides far enough. You may just have to go ahead and do it, bro. You may just have to go, especially if Curtis Samuel ends up leaving in free agency. But yeah, man, I'm really excited about the future of this. And I know a lot of people are saying, I mean, no matter what draft pick we have, it's not going to matter as long as Ron Rivera is here. I already reported in my video earlier, Ron Rivera will not be here by the time we draft. By the time we hit free agency, I think Ron Rivera is gone as soon as our season ends, before teams are even playing playoff games, because we need to go ahead and get a head start on our new GM search, and then the GM is more than likely going to hire the head coach and all of that. So I'm not worried about Ron Rivera having any more effect on this team whatsoever. He's just really just a face right now, just a placeholder head coach right now. I surely believe that. So that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Of course, again, I'm super busy, but I'm going to try to read and reply to every comment that I can. But let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Do you prefer for us to fight for a higher draft pick? Or if we end up with a top 5 draft pick, do you prefer to trade back or take one of those elite players? And if you do want to take one of those elite players, which elite player, definitely what position are you looking to fix the soonest in the draft? Also, please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button, because I have so much content I'm working on. And shouts out to all of my channel members. I'm happy to have y'all back now that YouTube is no longer tripping. And yeah, man, I'm gonna catch y'all later, coming out with daily videos, or you may have days like today where I'm coming out with 2 of them. So stay tuned. Without further ado, catch y'all later. I'm out.